Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including why you may want to wait to buy, Tesla eliminating the Model S and X in certain markets, new Powerwall programs, and more, so let's get into it. First up today, Tesla is in the process of updating one of their best autopilot safety features, automatic emergency braking. This feature is standard in many cars today and helps prevent accidents, but Tesla is adding even more function in software version 2023.12. Tesla details the updates in their owner's manual. Previously, Tesla noted that this system would help reduce the impact of frontal collisions, but now they say, quote, automatic emergency braking is designed to reduce the impact of frontal and reverse collisions with limited functionality while in reverse. The system has further been updated to determine the distance from detected objects and not just those in front of the car. The top operational speed has also now been increased, operating between 3 miles per hour and 124 miles per hour. Previously, it only functioned up to 90 miles per hour. The big change for most people, though, will be that it will work in reverse. There are a few instances detailed where automatic emergency braking does not apply, but overall this system is enabled by default in each drive. Quote, the manual clarifies that automatic emergency braking is always enabled when starting your Tesla. To disable it for the current drive, users can touch Controls, Autopilot, Automatic Emergency Braking. It's important to note that even if AEB is disabled, the vehicle may still apply the brakes after detecting an initial collision to reduce further impact. It's another example that Tesla software updates bring much more than just fun infotainment features. Next up today, Tesla is no longer offering the Model S or X in Australia. They've updated their website, and now prospective buyers can no longer place orders for those cars, and the design studio can't be operated anymore. They can only sign up for updates. Right-hand drive models are reportedly still being sold in the UK, but Australia still hasn't had any deliveries for these refreshed models. The last deliveries of these cars were at the end of 2020, before the refresh. According to The Drive, pre-orders for both the Model S and X opened with the US unveiling and had an estimated delivery date of late 2022, but prices and delivery times were taken off the website in late 2021. At the time, you could still place a refundable pre-order though. The number of people who have placed pre-orders for these cars since then isn't clear, but Tesla would have to refund all of those deposits if they no longer plan to release them in Australia. If they were planning to discontinue them there, I'm not sure why they would keep pre-orders open for so long. It makes me wonder if there's been an ongoing issue with the manufacturing or distribution in Australia specifically. The refreshed Model S and X started deliveries in Europe after a nearly 2-year wait back in December, so it seems odd that Australia didn't see them being delivered around the same time. It's doubly odd that orders for the same car are still open in Europe. At the same time though, it's entirely possible that this is just temporary, but we'll have to see how this all pans out. Next up today, the latest Cybertruck updates. During their Q1 2023 earnings call, Tesla confirmed the Cybertruck is still on track to begin production later this year at Giga Texas, and we saw some new photos of the pilot line, tooling, and winter testing. Elon also reiterated that they plan to have a Cybertruck delivery event around September of this year. Now we have a new sighting near Fremont, and some think it actually looks shorter. These photos were posted on Reddit, and you have to admit it does look a little snub-nosed from this angle. I do think though it's just the lighting, because if you compare it to other sightings we've had, you can see the dimensions are the same. Looking at the space or lack thereof between the front wheel well and start of the bumper, you can see it's the same triangular shape. In the first photo, it looks like the bumper has been rounded out, but that's just because the light isn't hitting the corner of the front bumper. Once the truck starts moving in this photo, you can see the contrast between the front bumper and this corner, so that panel is definitely the same flat panel design we've been seeing. Even more photos were posted a little later of the same truck at different angles. Here you can see the massive windshield wiper, which seems to be a permanent fixture now, and a bystander that might just be taking in the incredible size of this truck. Here you can see an even clearer light contrast, showing that sharp front corner is still there. Additionally, to make a change as drastic as shifting the dimensions of this car this close to the start of production would be a little crazy. Next up today, Tesla's inventory for all of their cars has been growing in recent months, and this may or may not be a problem. It also could mean that now is the best time to sell your Tesla or a bad time to buy one. Tesla is a growing company, and they're ramping production of all of their vehicles all over the world. They try to adjust pricing to match their ever-shifting production rates, but it's not a perfect science. Recently, Tesla has been accused of starting an all-out price war with the price cuts they've been making. On top of that, though, Tesla's inventory reached a new high in the US. They said at the end of last quarter that they were carrying 15 days worth of inventory, and that it was because of vehicles in transit, but that's probably not the whole story. This is especially interesting considering they've cut their vehicle prices by by as much as 20%. We should be seeing this trend go down if many more people are ordering and taking delivery of Tesla vehicles at lower pricing. According to data gathered by Matt Zheng, a Tesla investor and inventory tracker, there's been an upward trend since October of last year, leading to a peak of 2,600 cars. Drops in inventory correspond to the end of last quarter and just after their second to last price cut, but they're not keeping up with production. When looking at the breakdown of specific cars in inventory, it looks like the Model X is the main problem. Over 1,200 Model X's were recorded as of April 27th, about 4 times the number of Model Ys. That said, as Electrek points out, this could just be the result of Tesla deploying more inventory in the US during a short period of time ahead of switching production for other markets. Also, this is not a huge data set in the grand scheme of things. This chart is only tracking inventory since last October, so these changes could look more drastic than they actually are. This spike here happened over 6 days, and 3 days later, they delivered over half of them. Based on these charts, it appears that Tesla's price cuts are working for the Model Y. The Model Y's inventory was cut in half to 300 units following their last 2 price cuts, which makes a lot of sense. Many people on the edge of deciding to buy a Model Y finally saw it worth it when the base price went under $47,000. For Tesla's other vehicles, though, and especially the Model X, this inventory growth could be a sign that another price cut is in order. Tesla has recently been trying a lot of tactics to sell the Model S and X. The big one was dropping their prices to a new post-refresh low of $85,000 and $95,000 respectively. Since that, though, they've been trying a different technique. They raised the price $2,500 but are offering 3 years of free supercharging to any customer who buys one of these cars new. Additionally, if you trade in an older Model S or X with free unlimited supercharging, you'll get 6 years of free unlimited supercharging. I imagine the Model X is the one Tesla is trying to sell the most here, but ultimately that car still starts right around $100,000. In some cases, for nearly $45,000 less, you can get similar range and function in the Model Y, so this may be what people are opting for. Interestingly though, for the Model Y, while Tesla has not dropped the price of that car again, and inventory seems to be selling, they have now dropped the price of the 7-seater by $1,000. For a while now, that 7-seater option and upgrade has been an additional $4,000 on the configurator. Now it's only $3,000 extra. While these seats are very small and don't compare to the space of a 7-seater Model X, this is an interesting way that Tesla could be driving customers from the Model X further to the Model Y if it now has 7 seats for $1,000 less than it did before. I'm really curious to see their motivation here, but for some reason they're lowering the price of 7-seater Model Ys. Maybe they're trying to get rid of more at the end of the quarter. Or maybe they've heard from a lot of customers that that upgrade is just too expensive. Either way, that is somewhat of a price decrease for the Model Y, especially for anyone looking to get a 7-seater. It's now $1,000 less. Tesla can't hold inventory the way other automakers do since they don't have dealerships, so it's really important that they sell off all of the cars that they're piling up. Price decreases on the Model Y appear to be working overall, so that's going to be their best tactic across the board. The other thing this could mean is that the value of your current Tesla, if you're about to sell, may go down further. When Tesla drops new vehicle pricing, the value of used ones drops with them. So if you're on the cusp of selling your Tesla, this may be something to keep in mind. I've personally been dealing with this over the past couple weeks whilst trying to sell my 2021 Model 3. Either way, it's hard to see rising inventory as a good sign when thinking about Tesla's demand. We'll have to see in a few weeks if these latest supercharger incentives actually help the Model S and X sell, or if they end up needing to do another price decrease. I'm also curious to see what the effect of the $1,000 decrease on the Model Y's 7-seater is. Next up today, Tesla has announced an important step for their Powerwall pilot project in Germany. Many communities are currently trying to adapt their electric grids in order to stabilize them and take full advantage of growing solar capacity. Home battery storage units like the Tesla Powerwall are by far the easiest solution. A home solar system can charge the home power storage whenever it produces excess energy, and homeowners can sell that energy back to the grid once the sun goes down. Last year, Tesla started working with Transnet BW, which is one of the largest electric companies in Germany. Together, they put together a pilot virtual power plant. A virtual power plant, as you may know, is the product of Tesla Powerwall owners coming together to provide power to the grid. Tesla and Transnet BW haven't confirmed how many Powerwalls would be part of this project, but Tesla has announced the project has been launched successfully. They said, quote, "As part of a pilot project with Transnet BW in Germany, the first in continental Europe, Powerwall owners successfully contributed renewable energy to help support key sections of the grid. As home solar and power storage solutions become more popular, we're starting to see a lot more of these virtual power plant projects. The Powerwall is one of the most popular power storage products, so it makes sense that Tesla is leading the pack in virtual power plants. This new one in Germany adds to the projects we've heard about in Australia, California, and Texas. Reportedly, Transnet BW has said in the past that they would expand the program if the pilot was successful, which it appears to be. From here, the grid should only get more stable and greener. California's virtual power plant just reached a new energy capacity milestone this week. Lastbulb monitors California's VPP program and gives monthly updates on its growth. And in their last report, they found that 7,400 Powerwalls spread across 6,691 homes adds up to just over 100 megawatt hours of energy capacity. Last year, it contributed 577 megawatt hours to the grid. The average home uses about 29,130 watts in a day, so that's enough energy to power more than 3,400 homes just with the excess solar energy these Powerwall owners were producing. So for every 2 homes that join the system, another home can be powered with clean energy. In this chart, you can see the VPP had an excellent start last year and has been steadily growing ever since. California recently passed a bill increasing incentives for installing energy storage systems, so that growth is expected to pick up in the coming months. Texas also has a VPP, and the next regions expected to get new ones are New York and Florida. It's a tricky program to implement because power companies, Tesla, and homeowners have to coordinate it together, but its spreading popularity is very exciting to see. These systems will also be more successful in sunnier states, so it makes sense that California has been an early adopter. Speaking of California, California has reached its EV goals early. Back in 2012, the Nissan Leaf was the only fully electric vehicle for sale in California. Nonetheless, California's governor at the time had, quote, signed an executive order laying the foundation for 1.5 million zero-emission vehicles on California roadways by 2025. At the time, the number of EVs in California was measured in thousands, so this was a lot to ask. The Tesla Model S would come out later that year, though, and others were to follow. So as is the case with many environmental targets that California has set, that goal has been reached early. California has already achieved 1.5 million EV sales, 2 years before the 2025 deadline, according to the California Energy Commission. They report that as of the end of Q1 2023, California has reached 1,523,966 total EV sales, with 1,051,456 of those being battery electric and the remainder being PHEVs and hydrogen fuel cell cars. In Q1 alone, a total of 124,053 EVs were sold, so the 1.5 million sales milestone was just achieved early this year. California makes up about 8.5% of the population of the US, but 40% of all zero-emission vehicles sold in the US are also in California. Historically, California has been responsible for about half of the total US EV share, so it does look like things are improving in the rest of the country. In the US as a whole, EVs made up about 5.6% of sales in 2022, but as you can see in this chart, the number of EVs being sold is growing exponentially. Last up today, some updates from other automakers. Kia and Honda, who have both made promises to release an all-electric lineup, have unveiled several new EVs recently, and now appear to be ahead of their EV goals. Kia's first EV was the EV6 crossover, which they unveiled last May. They then unveiled the EV9 7-seater SUV and the smaller EV5 SUV. Bloomberg now reports that Kia's new goal is for 9% of their sales to be from EVs by the end of this year, and to sell 1 million units by 2026. In Q1, EVs made up 5.5% of their sales. Honda revealed plans this week that they are also increasing their EV production targets to over 2 million vehicles by 2030. That includes the Honda Prologue and Acura ZDX, which is due to be released next year. These will be produced in partnership with General Motors and be based on the Ultium platform. They go on to say a mid to large size EV will be on sale in 2025, and that one will be on their new E&E architecture. Moving forward, they'll still be collaborating with GM for other EVs. These announcements come amid general EV adoption expanding rapidly all around the world. The global market share of EVs went from 9% in 2021 to 14% in 2022, and that's 10 times what it was in 2017. Buick has opened reservations for its first electric SUV in China. The Electra E5 is a 5-seater, slightly longer and skinnier than a Model Y. There will be 5 trim options made available in China, with the cheapest option, the Electra E5 Standard Range, featuring a 338-mile CLTC range, or about 250 miles EPA. That one will start at 208,900 won, or about $30,146 US. Then the top spec, the Electra ESR all-wheel drive Avenir trim, will have a 374-mile CLTC range, or about 277 miles EPA. That one will be about 278,900 won, or about $40,260 US. Some exciting news for Buick, though, is that this car had 8,000 orders after 10 days on the market. Almost half of those were for the standard range, though. This is Buick's first mass-market EV on GM's Ultium platform, but as I mentioned, Buick has already noted that this is a China-specific version. It'll still be some time before the US sees an EV made by Buick. Chrysler plans to introduce its first EV by 2025 in an attempt to have an all-electric lineup by 2028. Now it appears that they may be working on a variation of the Chrysler 300 full-size sedan. In January, they announced their Airflow EV concept, an SUV crossover, but it's looking like this new variation might be replacing that. This one has been spotted at dealerships, and side by side, the two look pretty similar. Mopar Insiders reports that Stellantis, Chrysler's parent company, showed a few of its upcoming models at a recent dealer meeting. One of them was this new electric Chrysler. Their CEO has said that Chrysler will introduce a new redesigned EV to replace the 300 rather than converting the full-size sedan to electric, but there's still time for that to change. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to see why I sold my 2021 Plaid Model S and my final review of it, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.